All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the Started by You Basketball Podcast Show. Wherever or however you're listening, we're so grateful to have you with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan Cottle, and we have got a wonderful show for you today, guys. We are going to be discussing the recent storylines involving Angel Reese, the injury updates involving Azzi Fudd, as well as the recapping the game last night between the Bucks and Celtics. But I want to use the Angel Reese storyline, the current storyline, as a backdrop to discuss the importance of culture in programs. So, with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. Before we get started, though, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Started by You Show. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/startedbytheshow/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/startedbytheshow/tip. None of this is possible without you guys, the fans. Are so grateful and honored for all the love and support that you show us. And we will leave the links to all of our websites and our donations and Patreon in the description, so you'll always be able to go back and check it out. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? So as I was saying, I want to use the current Angel Reese storyline as a backdrop to discuss the importance of culture in a program. Something that we talked about extensively on the show before is the importance of culture and how culture is the most important aspect to a program, not talent level, not schematics, not coaching ability, but culture. And culture will always supersede your talent level. It will always supersede all the other variables that come into play when competing for a national championship. And ways to establish culture is through accountability and consistency. And those are the two biggest factors, accountability and consistency. And you keep players accountable, you keep coaches accountable, and you establish, some people call it a standard, but I like to call it a guideline, because standard is very resolute, but sometimes there needs to be gray area within decision making. But consistency and accountability are the key biggest factors when establishing culture. And early on as a coach, when establishing culture, you have to set a precedent for what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. And something that I always talk about is the 4-year rule, that coaches, GMs, whether it be at the collegiate level or the professional level, need at least 4 years to establish a culture within a program. And that's before you start to make any evaluations whether that coach should be fired or not. So you give them 4 years, and then on that 5th year, then you can start to say, okay, should we start moving in a different direction? And with LSU, they are in a very precarious situation because Kim Mulkey came in there and won a championship on the first year. And so she hasn't, despite contrary belief from the public, she hasn't truly established culture yet there at LSU. Winning or losing doesn't matter when establishing culture. You need 4 years to establish the culture. And if winning comes with that, okay, winning comes with it. But you still need 4 years to establish a culture. And Kim Mulkey is a good enough coach, and there's enough talent at LSU for them to win a championship in her first year. But she still hasn't completed the process of establishing culture there, which is why we're seeing stuff like this that's going on with LSU and Angel Reese and other storylines going on in that locker room right now, because Kim Mulkey is still in the process of establishing a culture at LSU. Yeah, they won, but they won off of talent. They won off the fact that the best team in the country got upset in the Final Four, so they didn't have to play them. A lot of factors went into them winning, but culture wasn't necessarily one of those factors. And so this is a great learning opportunity for the program as a whole in terms of establishing the culture, because now what we see is, Angel Reese was went on a world tour this off season in terms of the recognition and the acclaim and notoriety she was receiving. But now we come to the season, and none of that matters. And that's how you establish culture. That's you let the players know your popularity to the outside world means nothing to this program. What matters here is how you approach the game, how you approach the program, how you approach this setting, this space, day in and day out. And that's what matters most. And Kim Mulkey is keeping Angel Reese accountable, because if you can't, so from all intents and purposes, what my sources are telling me is that Angel Reese has been absent, away from the team, because of her eligibility, because she has a low GPA. Now, are there other factors that come into that? I'm sure there are. But Kim Mulkey has been very quiet, which is her prerogative, rightfully so. She's right that she doesn't owe the media any sort of explanation, but lack of an answer is an answer in itself. It says a lot. And you're left to speculate. And the fact that you're not willing to just give an answer outright says enough for me as an observer. All I need to know about what's going on, it's telling me that Kim Mulkey as head coach is in the process of establishing culture, making sure the culture is the foundation and not the players. And if that means removing your most prominent player, someone who's supposed to be your best player for an extended period of time, then so be it. And so I think this is important. I think this is good for not only Angel Reese, but also for Kim Mulkey and LC program, because now it shows that no one player is bigger than the program itself, no matter how popular they are. This is good for Angel Reese because it gives her a sense of humility, and it humbles her, and it helps her to understand that there's always more work to be done, and you can always improve, and you always have to be able to buy into a system, into a culture, in order to be a successful player. So I think this is beneficial for both parties involved. It's going to be a growing moment, growing space, but there is a lot of improvement to be made here. And this isn't a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the season. It's a growing opportunity. But I like this because it shows that Kim Mulkey is establishing culture. But she has to do it right now, because now, there's a lot of reports coming out with parents of players going at each other on social media, and players having other endeavors that they're delving into, which isn't a problem, but is that becoming a distraction from the season? And so all that needs to be regulated, all that needs to be streamlined. Everything needs to be streamlined back to basketball. And if there are things that are taking your time and your focus away from basketball, then now it's a distraction. And we know that we have to tune out all distractions as athletes, especially when we're locked in on our craft and during the season. And Kim Mulkey is in the process of doing that, of establishing the culture, and understanding that when you're at LSU, this is how we carry ourselves. This is our standard. This is how we do things. This is what we're not willing to tolerate. And you establish that baseline. You establish that guideline. And players are either going to fall in line or they're not. But the culture will always prevail. The culture should never change, and it should never be compensated for the sake of one or two players. If players aren't willing to buy in, then they have to be removed. There's an old saying that if a player that can't be a part of the program and it leaves, only improves it. Because now you cut off dead weight, you cut off weight from the program. If players aren't able to buy in, aren't willing to be a part of the culture, then they leave. That's only a positive for the program, because now you like I said, you cut weight, and you now allow a roster spot. You now allow space for players that are able to be a part of your culture and program, and that are willing to buy in. You get space for those players to come in. So that's why it's so important to establish culture, because you get the players that are meant to be a part of your program, that are meant to be a part of your culture. You get them in sooner. And I think this is a great space, great moment right here for LSU, great moment for Angel Reese, for all the parties involved, because it's learning. It's a learning moment, and I'm glad this is happening in November as opposed to March. At that point, it's too late. But it's good that this is happening now as opposed to later on in the season. But let me know what you guys think in the chat room. What do you guys think about this? Is this a good look, bad look for LSU? Good look or bad look for Angel Reese? And is it about culture? Is there something else that's going on with this storyline? Just giving you my perspective on it. But leave your thoughts in the chat room. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to hear all about it, guys. And in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the injury updates involving UConn's very own Azzi Fudd. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we just discussed the recent storyline involving Angel Reese and LSU, and we used that as a backdrop to discuss the importance of establishing culture within a program. And in this segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the injury news involving UConn's guard, Azzi Fudd. And, according to reports, Azzi Fudd suffered a non-contact knee injury about 5 days ago, in which she told head coach Gina Auriemma that she felt something funny in her right knee, and she ended up missing the game against Maryland as well as their most recent game against Minnesota. So she missed those last two games. UConn won both those games by a wide margin. But now that the medical reports come out, it's now reported that Azzi Fudd has a lateral meniscus tear as well as a torn ACL in her right knee, which means that she'll be missing the entirety of the season, the remainder of the season. And this is coming off the heels of last season, in which Azzi Fudd missed substantial time as well due to an injury to the same knee as well. This knee has been an issue, cause for concern for Azzi since she's been at UConn. Her freshman year, she missed a little bit of time as well with some tendonitis and knee pain. And like we discussed, she missed some time last year, quite a bit of time last year with the knee injury. And, couple that with the fact now, like we said, suffering this ACL injury. Now the question now becomes, should Azzi Fudd just prepare for the WNBA draft, or should she come back to UConn for her senior season? UConn, the past 3 to 4 years has struggled to stay healthy with Paige Bueckers and Azzi Fudd only playing a combined 17 games together since they've both been at UConn. And when they both came in the same class, people were talking about this being, one of the best backcourts in UConn history, or at least having the potential to be. And now that Fudd suffers this injury, now it puts UConn in a precarious situation, because I don't think anyone expects UConn to truly contend for a national championship. When people think of the best teams in women's college basketball, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and maybe Baylor, maybe Stanford. But in my mind, when I think of one of the best teams in college basketball right now, women's college basketball, it's South Carolina and Virginia Tech, and it's not particularly close to me. I think South Carolina is heads and heels above everybody right now. But getting back to UConn, with Azzi, coming into the season, Azzi was, in my projections, one of the 10 best players in women's college basketball. No question about it. One of the best guards, a top 3 guard in women's college basketball. I was assuming that she was healthy. And based off the film I've seen off of her so far, it's enough for me to say, okay, she can get drafted as a top 10 player in the WNBA draft. So from my perspective, based on what I've seen so far, I don't think she needs another year at UConn. But I said the same thing with Paige Bueckers. I don't think she needed another year at UConn. If anything, just to build strength. But in terms of skill set, she didn't need another year. I said the same thing with Azzi. In terms of skill set, I don't think Azzi needs another year at UConn. Could she use another year to get bigger and build up strength? Sure. But just in terms of pure skill set and feel for the game, no, I think Azzi's ready. I think Azzi's ready for the WNBA right now. So then the question, so now, like we talked about, should she forego her senior season, or should she declare for the WNBA draft? And this is where the NIL deals start to play such a huge factor, because something that Angel Reese alluded to after she won the national championship this past season was that she's making more money off of NIL deals than some WNBA players are making off of their salary. So I don't know what Azzi Fudd's NIL endorsement deals are looking like, but that plays a factor, because now, just speaking strictly financially, listen, the WNBA isn't going anywhere. Those NIL deals run up once you leave college. So now, my question is, or my statement is, okay, Azzi Fudd, if you're making more money in your NILs than you would offer potential first-year salary in the WNBA, go ahead and stay another year. Get something out of this college experience. Stay another year, get your NIL deal, have the opportunity to compete for another national championship, and then, possibly get your master's degree as well while you're there. Just increase your time while you're at UConn, because the WNBA isn't going anywhere. And yes, people say, well, she might run the risk of getting injured. We can get injured in the WNBA as well. Yeah, you can get injured anywhere. Doesn't matter where you're at. That's why I don't really like the concept of injuries, especially with the NIL deals now, where you're getting paid either way. Listen, you can get injured walking down the street. Yeah, you always have to run the risk of getting injured, but why not get something out of it? You come back healthy next season, you compete again for a national championship, you get your master's degree, you get paid more for NIL deals than you would from a WNBA salary. I see nothing wrong with that. Now, granted, this is all hinged upon the fact that, or the concept that she would be getting paid more off her NIL deals than she would from her WNBA salary. Now, if she would get paid more from her WNBA salary than she would from her NIL deals, then I would say, okay, start to consider foregoing your senior season and declaring for the draft. But that's the only caveat. Only if you would get paid more from your WNBA salary than you would from your NIL deals. That's the only reason you should go to the WNBA draft. If not, come back your senior season, get healthy, give yourself time to get healthy, because the WNBA season starts off right away. Boom, starts off right in May. So are you even giving yourself time to get ready? Take your time, give yourself time to be 100%, compete for national championship again, get a master's degree, and give yourself another year to develop. And that's the counsel I would give Azzi Fudd if there's even consideration on what she should do for this upcoming season. But either way, we're praying for a speedy recovery for Azzi Fudd, who's not only one of the best players in women's college basketball, but overall just a great human being. Praying for a speedy recovery for her. But with that being said, guys, in our next segment, we are going to be recapping last night's matchup between the Bucks and the Celtics. Is this the Eastern Conference Finals preview? Was I right about Boston still being the best team in the Eastern Conference despite Milwaukee trading for Dame? Guys, we're going to cover all of that and then some, so be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. Be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed our previous segment, we just discussed the recent injury updates for Azzi Fudd, and with her tearing her right lateral meniscus, as well as tearing her ACL in her right knee. So she will be out for the remainder of the season. And we discussed some decisions that she needs to make moving forward in terms of possibly declaring for the WNBA draft and forgoing her senior season, or coming back to UConn for her senior season and competing for a national championship. And I discussed the pros and cons of either of those decisions and what I would counsel her what I would recommend her she do if there's a question about it. And if you guys want to check that out, just go ahead and rewind this live segment. But we'll be breaking down the segments as we usually do at the end of the day. But in this segment, guys, we are going to be discussing the recap from last night's matchup between the Bucks and the Celtics. Is this a possible preview for the Eastern Conference Finals matchup? Listen, as you guys know, the Celtics had a wire-to-wire victory against the Milwaukee Bucks last night, in which they won by a score of 119-116. Boston was led by Jaylen Brown, who had 26 points and 8 assists. Milwaukee was led by Brook Lopez, who had 28 points and 7 rebounds. Damian Lillard also had 27 points and 5 assists and 5 rebounds. And Giannis had 21 points and 13 rebounds while shooting 7-20 from the field. And I was able to watch this game, and all this game showed me was something that we already knew and something we had discussed previously on the show, and that even with the addition of Damian Lillard, Boston is still a better team than Milwaukee because Drew Holiday fits a much more important role and is a much bigger piece than Damian Lillard is for Milwaukee. And I say that because, listen, we look at the box score. Drew Holiday, yeah, he only had 5 points and 8 rebounds, but we have to look at the play. We have to look at actual game film when we look at the impact that Drew Holiday has. Listen, Drew Holiday does an amazing job of setting tempo and creating pace. Listen, Drew Holiday's been one of the best point guards in the NBA. If you ask me my opinion, Drew Holiday's been a top 5 point guard in the league so far, not just off of stats, but just watching the game and how he's controlling pace, controlling tempo, and getting easier scoring opportunities for guys like Tatum and Brown and even Kristaps Porzingis. Listen, Porzingis had 21 points and 6 rebounds. So Drew Holiday is doing an amazing job of being a point guard, playing that point guard role. Something that Derek White hasn't really been able to do, and Marcus Smart hasn't really been able to do. They've had different iterations of the point guards in Boston, but this is the first time they have a pure point guard to say, I'm just going to get easier scoring opportunities for these guys. And that's what Drew Holiday's doing, and that's why I say he's been a top 5 point guard in the league so far. And it shows because, listen, look. Tatum shot 7 of 17. Porzingis shot 9 of 15. Brown shot 10 of 16. Derek White shot 5 of 9. Those are great field goal percentages, and those are easy scoring opportunities that these guys are getting. Because if you're watching the game, Brown and Tatum now are both able to catch it off the wing. They're able to come off pin downs and curls and staggers and off of quick cuts and even flex screens and get easy buckets at the layup at the basket, as opposed to having to create everything from the top of the key, where it's a little easier to double now. And so that's why Boston, their field goal percentage last night, they shot 52% from the field, 40% from three. Those are great numbers, and it's because guys are getting easier scoring opportunities. Now, listen, we talked about this before. Boston, the only cause for concern they have, to me, is their bench. Listen, they go about 3 deep with Hauser and Horford and Pritchard. They really don't go deeper than that, and that'll be a cause for concern in the playoffs. Their depth, that's the one thing that concerns me in comparison to Milwaukee, where they go pretty deep. They got Portis and Campaign and Pat Connaughton and Jackson Jr. and so they have a little bit more depth. Milwaukee does, but however, Milwaukee's perimeter defense has taken such a huge hit with the loss of Drew Holiday, and you don't really compensate it at all with the addition of Damian Lillard. Defense is going to be is where those struggles, particularly from the perimeter, and which means that now you just put more pressure on them offensively. And now what starts to happen is because your perimeter defense is lacking, you put more pressure on your low post players to now contest shots, and it puts them in more positions to get fouls, actually. So if we look at the foul chart, listen, Giannis had 4 fouls, Middleton had 4 fouls, and Lopez had 3 fouls, which isn't particularly bad. But the 4 fouls with Giannis and Middleton. Listen, now you're putting those guys at a disadvantage because now guys at the perimeter are getting beat more often. And so now the bigs have to step up more on the help side and, like I said, contest shots more and try to block shots more. And now they're more likely to get more fouls because of that. So now you are compromising your defense for the sake of hopefully improving your offense with Damian Lillard. And listen, Dame had 27 points. He shot 11-24 from the field, which it's right below 50%. But however, what they gained offensively doesn't make up for what they lost defensively in Milwaukee. But however, if you're Boston, listen, you improve offensively, and you improve tremendously on the defensive end with the addition of Drew Holiday. No one would argue that Drew Holiday is a better offensive player than Marcus Smart and Derek White, and he's by far a better defender than both of them. So, this game just showed me what I already know, and that Boston is the best team in the Eastern Conference, and they should be the favorites, not Milwaukee. And I think this game was just a perfect end sample and a perfect microcosm of all of those things that we just talked about. So that's what I got out of this game. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What did you guys get from this game? What are your guys' thoughts on it? Do you guys think Boston is the best team in the Eastern Conference? Do you think Milwaukee has a legitimate chance of usurping them? Or are we missing a team? Do you guys think Philadelphia might be the best team in the Eastern Conference? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think in the chat room. I would love to hear all about it. But with that being said, guys, that is it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Still going with the Bucks, Dre. Still going with the Bucks. You know, Dre. We're gonna talk about this on our live show tomorrow. But listen, the thing that concerns me with the Bucks is their perimeter. Is their perimeter defense, man. Like last year, I don't ever recall them giving up more than 119 points during the regular season. So, Milwaukee, offensively, they look good, but, defensively, man, there's a lot of cause for concern, man. Wow, Boston has just gotten that much better. And and something that, we talked about, me and you, Dre, is that can Tatum and Brown get easier scoring opportunities? Can they get easy shots? Can they score efficiently? And I think they're able to do that now with the addition of Jrue Holiday. But we're going to be talking about that on our live show for sure tomorrow. But yes, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Sorry to Bother You Show. That way you get access to all of our exclusive content. And if you would like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/sorrytobotheryoushow/tip. We'll leave links to all of our websites and Patreon accounts in our description, so you'll be able to go back and check it out. We'll be back again same time tomorrow, guys, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to have a wonderful Thanksgiving, celebrate it, and be safe. Oh, by the way, shout out to Kyrie Irving, who put on the performance last night in LA. Had 28 points with the victory. Listen, Kyrie is the best point guard in the NBA. I continue to say this. And we're going to talk about that on our show tomorrow. But, guys, we'll be back again, like I said, tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and peace.